Hello everyone, I'm Nini FC, this is Blue Lions TV. Welcome to another match preview of our game tomorrow against Bournemouth in the Carabao Cup quarterfinal. By now, you guys know how I break down these match previews. I start off by giving my thoughts and opinions on the press conference. Then I lead up with that by talking about the predicted lineup for that game tomorrow. Then I like to end things by talking about our opposition's tactics and talking about how we can beat them as well. You guys, if you like the video, smash that like button, help me get more than 500 likes for today's video, and press the bell notification button as well to stay tuned to all things Blue Lions TV. But anyway, moving straight into the press conference, and this was a very interesting press conference, as you can tell by the thumbnail. Now, to start things, Zola confirmed that Hazard and Morata won't be playing tomorrow. They both have knocks, and this is really frustrating that Sarri can't rely on Hazard again, due to referees not protecting the player. I'm seeing it way too often now. Players are just hacking Hazard from behind, hacking his ankles. They're getting away with it. It can't persist. And if you want to hear more of my thoughts and opinions on this matter, watch yesterday's 5 talking points video, and you'll find this right at the end of yesterday's video. Zola also spoke about Ruben, and he was speaking about him in very high praise. Now, he said that Ruben has shown some application that he wasn't necessarily showing before, and that's been the most impressive thing about his recent form so far. Zola is happy that Ruben is providing that impact, and he's also happy that the hard work that Ruben is putting in is finally paying off, and I have a feeling that this guy is going to be starting the game tomorrow. There was another interesting point that Zola spoke about when he was questioned in regards to whether him and Sarri need to win a trophy for this season. Zola actually said that no, there's a plan in place. Our plan is to become one of the best teams in Europe in the future. Basically telling all of us that, Chelsea understand the process. They signed Sarri for the long term in play, and we have to be patient and wait for things to happen. There isn't going to be any circumstances of Sarri getting sacked immediately unless something disastrous was to happen, like, the whole squad fall out with him, or I don't know, it's something crazy like that happening. Now, Zola was talking about Callum Wilson, of course, the Bournemouth striker, and Zola was stating that, yes, with Callum Wilson, his form has been good so far. He's scored 9 goals in 18 games. He said that a lot of players are linked with Chelsea recently. Of course, Wilson is doing well right now, so it's natural that he's going to have a lot of interest from us and from other clubs as well, basically confirming the reports that were true that Wilson was being looked at by Chelsea. Now, I'm going to give my thoughts and opinions on the point that was spoken about in today's press conference. Now, for me, I'm going to sound a bit harsh, but I kind of feel like Wilson is like an English Morata. Again, he's got some good qualities to his game. I think his movement off the ball in the final third is very impressive. He's comfortable drifting wide, holding up the ball, and making runs in behind as well. But I think when it comes to his finishing, I don't know if it's at that top class level that we need. And I think, let's remember, if we're linked with this guy for January, there's no way in hell Bournemouth are going to sell one of their best players in January unless it costs an absolute fortune. And this opinion I had was backed up later by Matt Law, who reported that he was hearing talks of Bournemouth putting a 50 million price tag on Callum Wilson. Now, of course, with Callum Wilson, one thing that he will help address with the squad is that homegrown status. Now, the reality is a few of these players currently have homegrown statuses are most likely going to be leaving soon, and they are going to have to be replaced. Now, we can do that by utilising the loan army, or we could do that as well by, paying the buyback fees for guys like Nathan Ake. Now, just because Callum Wilson is a target does not mean that he's the main target. Let's not forget that. It was similar to Jamie Vardy. Now, of course, you guys, I did let you know beforehand that the transfer video I did release was kind of old. Obviously, I had some of this information over the past month and even beyond. Now, Jamie Vardy was being looked at. I can tell you now that interest has cooled off with him quite a lot, and it feels like it's a bit similar in regards to the Callum Wilson story. Now, when I was hearing stuff about him, it was a while back. There aren't any new updates other than Zola speaking about this guy today, but realistically, I just don't see it happening. I mean, maybe hypothetically, could we offer players as part of the deal to try and soften things? I mean, who knows? What if we allow Tammy Abrahams to move on loan to Bournemouth to help reduce the fee? Or what if we allow Bournemouth to sign Tammy Abrahams with a buyback fee similar to what we've placed on Nathan Ake? That's the only realistic way I can see this deal ever making any sense. But if there's one thing that we should prepare ourselves for and really embrace, is the fact that it's still that typical thing of managers having their own targets and the club having their own targets as well. Now, with Sarri, of course, the guy isn't very demanding, so he's happy to work with anyone that the club put on his table. But Callum Wilson is most definitely not a Sarri target. Anyway, moving straight into the predicted lineup part of this video. And for the game tomorrow, I'm expecting Sarri to make some rotations. I don't think they're going to be heavy rotations, but I think a few players will have the possibility to play. Something tells me that Emerson is going to start tomorrow. Now, we know that Alonso has been on pretty bad form recently. Sarri most likely isn't going to be impressed by it so far. And we have seen that Emerson has been able to make it into the matchday squad by getting places on the bench. And I feel like this is going to be the game that Sarri finally gives him a chance in a pretty high profile game. Now, we know that Hazard and Morata aren't going to be playing, so I feel like Olivier Giroud will be starting. I think it's quite obvious. Now, I'm guessing that Sarri is going to use Willian and Pedro, which makes a lot of sense. I prefer these two on the left and on the right, and I think they've looked quite well. They've really complimented us in the final thirds, but I'm hoping that Sarri is going to find time and hopefully give minutes to Hudson-Odoi. I think that this is the perfect game where he can provide something. I don't know, worst case scenario for me would be that Ruben doesn't play, Barkley starts the game, and Ruben's the guy that's brought on to replace either Willian or Pedro. I don't know, I just have a weird feeling something like this might happen. But I'm going to remain optimistic. I'm hoping and I'm thinking that Ruben is going to start the game tomorrow. And I feel like with his abilities and his attributes, he can really cause this Bournemouth team, cause them a lot of ag for tomorrow. I think that Christensen might play as well. I think this is the type of game where he should be playing. I think that he'll probably partner Rudiger to really rest David Luiz, because I don't think it's the type of game he needs to play in. Now, I'm curious as to whether Jorginho or Cesc will play. Maybe Cesc has a big chance, but I'm going to go with Jorginho for now. If anything, I'm guessing that Sarri is going to sub these guys off for guys like Cesc in the second half of the game. And I think that's the most effective thing to do, because even though Cesc has been decent for us, I think when it comes to playing the Regista role, he can be a bit indisciplined at times. Anyway, moving straight into the tactical part of this video, starting with Bournemouth. Now, Bournemouth will be ready for the game tomorrow. They've got a massive chance of potentially getting into a semi-final for the first time in this tournament. And to be honest, you know, Bournemouth are a team that have made our lives quite hard at times recently. Now, I'm going to talk about why they've been making it so hard for us later on in this part of the video, but I'm expecting Bournemouth to rotate as well. Again, not very heavy rotation, but I feel like maybe some of the big boys might come on during the second half of the game, depending on the outcome and the context of the game. Now, how exactly have Bournemouth been making our lives difficult recently? That comes down to the main man, Eddie Howe. And I feel like I have to give this guy more respect. In previous seasons, I have been a bit critical of Eddie Howe, and that was based on bias, if I'm being honest. Obviously, analysing them more and learning more about him, I can see why he's so well respected by managers in this league, and I can see why Sarri is such a big fan of him. And I feel like he's a very sophisticated manager tactically, and if he had that possibility of managing a top club with better individual players, I feel like he would be praised more. I think that his system and his tactics would be spoken about a lot more. And if anything, it's a great testament to the fact that, you know, Bournemouth have quite a few players that aren't Premier League level in my opinion, yet he still gets them competing, and they've slowly become a mid-table team. Now, what makes Eddie Howe so good is the tactical fluidity in which he uses his teams. You know, Bournemouth are very versatile. They can set up in a 3-4-3, they can set up in a 4-5-4-1, 4-4-1, 4-4-2, and his teams make these seamless transitions depending on the context of the game and depending on moments in the game as well. We've already seen it this season, you know, with Bournemouth. You know, they did try to press us high using their 3-4-3 at times, but when we were able to bypass the midfield and play between their lines, they adapted to that scenario and they reverted back to make a back five system with either 3 or 4 midfield, depending on whether one of the strikers drops deeper into midfield to help. And once they've been possession of the ball back, they're able to start their quick counter-attacks down the flanks, transitioning back to a 4-4-2 or a 3-4-3. And Bournemouth did cause us a lot of issues. It took the introduction of Pedro and Giroud, who both provided different threats to the game, obviously with Pedro using his left foot, and with Giroud being the target man up front where we could play direct balls to. That was how we were able to overcome Bournemouth in the end. And as I mentioned earlier, we were able to exploit them at times during the game in regards to playing between the lines. Now, with Bournemouth, with how they like to press off the ball, they like to force their opponents to one side of the pitch, and by doing that, what they tend to do is they'll have their midfield players man mark their opponent's midfield players. And then let's say the ball's moved to the right hand side, that's when you see them press aggressively down the flanks. The amount of times we saw Nathan Aki leaving his centre back position to push into midfield to help win back the ball happened quite a lot. But of course, you know, it comes down to every player applying the press and applying the pressure. If players aren't doing that, if they create gaps, that creates a space for us to play through them, which we did at times. And, you know, it happened with, you know, Eden Hazard finding joy at times, with our midfield players breaking the lines in either, you know, Kovacic or Kante. And to be honest, when we started to do that, that was when Bournemouth reverted back to a 5-4-1. And what I'm basically trying to say is, this is going to be the exact same approach that Bournemouth used against us for tomorrow's game. And to wrap things up nicely, how can we beat Bournemouth? Well, I think one advantage of Giroud playing is the fact that he brings in the other attacking players into the game. I've said this time and time again, with his ability to keep the ball in those central areas, his ability to create those 1-2s and those layoff passes, it gives more confidence to our attacking players to make those infield runs or to run inside with the ball, because Giroud is going to create space for them, and Giroud is going to provide that link-up play with these guys as well. Now, I feel like we have improved tactically. Yes, some of the results have been peak. I mean, obviously the Wolves game, but that was mostly down to the players not applying themselves as well. It wasn't down to any tactical weaknesses. And this is football, you know. Naturally, things like this can happen at times. Let's hope that isn't going to be the outcome for tomorrow. But in my opinion, to get that advantage over Bournemouth normally depends on who scores first. Now, normally when we do that, Bournemouth tend to react going goals down, and they tend to react by pressing high and pushing more men forward, and that's what tends to actually cost them in games. You know, the amount of times that Bournemouth are in the game for the first 45 minutes or even 60 minutes, but then once they concede a goal, they lose their discipline, you know, they lose their shape. There's more holes in those central areas and between the lines, and this is why they tend to concede so many goals later on during games. If we beat that press and bypass that midfield, of course that's going to be a massive positive, and that's really going to help our cause in regards to getting a result from this game. Anyway, you guys, my score prediction for the game tomorrow is going to be another 2-0 win for us. I think that Bournemouth will obviously play decently well. I mean, they are a good team. They just can't sustain their level of performance throughout an entire 90 minutes. And to be honest, I'm just hoping that Sarri is going to be a bit brave with his rotations. And I'm hoping that he is going to use Callum Hudson-Odoi tomorrow. But anyway, you guys, thank you for watching today's match preview. Please like, comment and subscribe. I'm the NEFC. This is Blue Lions TV. Signing out.